What if I told you that two vitamins sitting in your medicine cabinet right now could be quietly stealing calcium from your bones? You probably take them thinking you're protecting your health, but instead, you might be setting yourself up for fractures that could change your life forever. I'm talking about vitamin A and vitamin E, two nutrients that millions of seniors trust every single day. But here's the shocking truth your doctor might not have warned you about. These same vitamins, when taken in the wrong amounts, can turn your bones brittle and weak. You see, Margaret from Ohio thought she was doing everything right. She took her multivitamin religiously, added extra vitamin A for her eyes, and vitamin E for her heart. But at 72, she suffered a hip fracture from simply stepping off a curb. The real culprit wasn't osteoporosis. It was vitamin toxicity that had been silently destroying her bone density for years. This isn't just Margaret's story. It's happening to thousands of seniors across the country. And the most heartbreaking part? It's completely preventable once you know what to look for. Strong bones don't just need calcium. They need protection from the wrong vitamins. Today, we're going to uncover the hidden danger behind vitamin A and vitamin E. And I'll show you exactly how these nutrients can either strengthen your bones or destroy them. Most people think more vitamins equals stronger health. It's a natural assumption, right? If a little is good, more must be better. But this thinking has created a silent epidemic of vitamin overdoses that's damaging bones every single day. You might be shocked to learn that your body can only handle specific amounts of these vitamins. Beyond that safe zone, they don't just become useless, they become dangerous. And here's what makes this even more concerning. You probably won't feel the damage happening until it's too late. Let me start by saying this clearly. Vitamin A isn't the villain in this story. Your body absolutely needs it to maintain healthy vision, support your immune system, and keep your skin glowing. Without adequate vitamin A, you'd face serious health problems that could significantly impact your quality of life. But here's where things get complicated, and this is crucial for every senior to understand. When vitamin A levels become too high, especially from supplements, this essential nutrient transforms from a friend into a foe that specifically targets your bones. The science behind this is both fascinating and frightening. In high doses, vitamin A becomes toxic, and your bones bear the brunt of this toxicity. It's like having a helpful neighbor who suddenly becomes destructive when they've had too much to drink. They're still the same person, but their behavior becomes harmful. What happens inside your bones is quite remarkable, but not in a good way. Chronic vitamin A overdose triggers something called increased osteoclast activity. Now, osteoclasts are the cells responsible for breaking down old bone tissue, which is normally a healthy process. But when vitamin A levels are too high, these cells go into overdrive. Think of it this way. Your bones are constantly being remodeled, like a house that's always under renovation. You have construction workers, called osteoblasts, building new bone, and demolition workers, called osteoclasts, breaking down old bone. Normally, this process is perfectly balanced. But excess vitamin A is like giving the demolition crew extra energy drinks. They start tearing down faster than the construction crew can build up. This imbalance leads to a net loss of calcium from your bones. Over time, this weakens your bone density and dramatically raises your fracture risk. What's particularly insidious about this process is that it happens gradually, often over months or years, without any obvious symptoms. Dr. Sarah Chun, a leading bone health researcher, explains it perfectly when she says that vitamin A toxicity is like a slow leak in your bone bank account. You might not notice the withdrawals at first, but eventually, you'll realize your account is dangerously low when you need it most. This is where things get personal, because I guarantee that many of you listening right now are unknowingly consuming dangerous levels of vitamin A. And the scary part? You're probably doing it while trying to stay healthy. Let me explain the difference between the two main forms of vitamin A, because this knowledge could literally save your bones. First, there's beta-carotene, which comes from colorful fruits and vegetables like carrots, sweet potatoes, and leafy greens. This form is relatively safe because your body converts only what it needs into active vitamin A. Then there's preformed vitamin A, also called retinol, and this is where the danger lies. You'll find this form in liver, multivitamins, cod liver oil, and many individual vitamin A supplements. Unlike beta-carotene, retinol builds up in your body, accumulating in your liver and fat tissues like a slow-acting poison. Here's a real-world example that might sound familiar. John, a 78-year-old retired teacher, took a daily multivitamin that contained 5,000 IU of vitamin A. He also took cod liver oil for joint health, adding another 4,000 IU daily. Plus, he loved eating liver once a week, which provided another massive dose. Without realizing it, John was consuming over 15,000 IU of pre-formed vitamin A daily, well into the toxic range. The safe upper limit for vitamin A is around 10,000 IU per day, and even that's pushing it for seniors. But here's what's truly alarming. Daily intake above this level, continued for months, can cause serious bone toxicity. And older adults like John are especially vulnerable because our metabolism slows down with age, making it harder for our bodies to clear excess vitamins. The most heartbreaking part about vitamin A toxicity is that you may not feel it happening. There's no immediate pain, no obvious warning signs. You might feel a bit more tired than usual or notice some joint stiffness, but you'll likely attribute these symptoms to normal aging. Meanwhile, your bones are becoming increasingly brittle, setting you up for fractures that could happen from the smallest misstep. Now, I want you to pay close attention to this section because recognizing these symptoms early could prevent a life-changing fracture. The challenge with vitamin A toxicity is that its symptoms are often subtle and easily mistaken for other age-related changes. Let me walk you through the warning signs that your body might be crying out for help. First, you might experience chronic fatigue that doesn't improve with rest. This isn't the normal tiredness you feel after a busy day, but a persistent, deep exhaustion that makes even simple tasks feel overwhelming. Joint pain is another early warning sign, and it's particularly cruel because many seniors already deal with arthritis or other joint issues. The pain from vitamin A toxicity often feels different though. It's more of a deep, aching sensation that seems to move around your body unpredictably. Your skin might also start telling the story of vitamin overdose. Excessive dryness, unusual flaking, or skin that seems to have lost its natural moisture could all be signs that your vitamin A levels are too high. Some people also experience hair loss or changes in their hair texture. Headaches and irritability are common but often overlooked symptoms. You might find yourself getting frustrated more easily or experiencing headaches that don't respond well to typical pain relievers. These neurological symptoms occur because excess vitamin A can increase pressure in your brain. But here's the most devastating symptom: spontaneous fractures in your hips and wrists. These are fractures that happen from minimal trauma, like Ruth's story. She was a vibrant 75-year-old who broke her wrist simply by bracing herself during a minor stumble. The fracture was so unexpected that her doctor initially suspected osteoporosis. However, when they dug deeper, they discovered that Ruth had been taking high-dose vitamin A supplements for over 2 years. Her blood tests showed elevated calcium levels, which seemed contradictory. How could she have high calcium in her blood but weak bones? The answer was chilling. The excess vitamin A was pulling calcium out of her bones and dumping it into her bloodstream, where it couldn't provide any structural support. This is often misdiagnosed as osteoporosis, leading to treatments that don't address the real problem. The tragedy is that while osteoporosis medications might help somewhat, they can't fully reverse the damage caused by ongoing vitamin toxicity. Let me give you the roadmap to safe vitamin A consumption, because knowledge is your best defense against this silent bone destroyer. Understanding these numbers could literally save your skeleton from unnecessary damage. The recommended daily allowance for vitamin A is 700 micrograms for women and 900 micrograms for men. Now, you might see these numbers expressed differently on supplement labels, often in international units or IU. To put this in perspective, 700 micrograms equals about 2,300 IU, and 900 micrograms equals about 3,000 IU. Here's where it gets critical. The toxic threshold begins at around 3,000 micrograms daily, which is about 10,000 IU when taken from supplements over extended periods. But here's what makes this particularly dangerous for seniors. Our bodies become less efficient at processing and eliminating excess vitamins as we age, so even smaller amounts can accumulate to toxic levels over time. Let me share the story of Dorothy, an 80-year-old grandmother who thought she was being health-conscious by taking a high-potency multivitamin plus an additional vitamin A supplement. She was consuming nearly 15,000 IU daily, believing that more would help her maintain her vision and boost her immune system. After 18 months, She developed severe bone pain and suffered two minor fractures that seemed to come out of nowhere. The beautiful thing about this story is that once Dorothy stopped her supplements and switched to getting vitamin A from food sources, her bone health began to stabilize. It took time, but her body was able to heal once the toxic burden was removed. Food sources of vitamin A are much safer because they primarily provide beta-carotene, which your body converts to active vitamin A only as needed. Carrots, sweet potatoes, spinach, kale, and cantaloupe are excellent sources that won't cause toxicity even if you eat them daily. If you need to take a multivitamin, look for one that contains no more than 2,500 to 3,000 IU of vitamin A, and make sure it has a balanced ratio with vitamin D. Some of the best formulations actually use beta-carotene instead of pre-formed vitamin A, which gives you the benefits without the toxicity risk. Now, let's turn our attention to vitamin E, a nutrient that's been praised for decades as a powerful antioxidant and heart protector. You've probably heard wonderful things about vitamin E, how it fights free radicals, supports your immune system, and may even help prevent heart disease. And to be fair, these benefits are real when vitamin E is consumed in appropriate amounts. But here's what the supplement industry doesn't want you to know, and what many doctors haven't fully grasped yet. High-dose synthetic vitamin E, the kind found in most supplements, can actually harm your bones in ways that are both subtle and devastating. The story of vitamin E and bone health is particularly tragic because it involves a nutrient that people take specifically to stay healthy. Emma, a 73-year-old retired nurse, had been taking 400 IU of vitamin E daily for over 5 years because she'd read about its benefits for heart health. She was a healthcare professional who thought she was making informed decisions about her health. But Emma didn't know that high-dose synthetic vitamin E was interfering with another crucial vitamin, vitamin K, which is absolutely essential for proper calcium regulation in your body. Think of vitamin K as the traffic director for calcium, telling it where to go and where not to go. When vitamin E disrupts this process, calcium starts going to all the wrong places. Instead of being properly deposited in your bones where it belongs, calcium begins accumulating in your arteries, creating a double tragedy. Your bones become weaker because they're not getting the calcium they need, while your arteries become stiffer and more prone to blockages because they're getting calcium they don't want. This process is insidious because it happens gradually over months or years. You might not notice any symptoms at first, but eventually, you'll face two serious problems: weakened bones that fracture easily, and cardiovascular issues that could be life-threatening. Research has shown that people taking high-dose vitamin E supplements have an increased risk of fractures, particularly hip fractures, which can be devastating for seniors. A hip fracture after age 70 often marks the beginning of a downward spiral in health and independence. The irony is heartbreaking. Emma was taking vitamin E to protect her heart, but it was actually harming both her bones and potentially her cardiovascular system. When she finally learned about this connection and stopped the high-dose supplement, she felt like she'd been betrayed by the very system she'd trusted to keep her healthy. Let me give you the facts about vitamin E dosing, because this information could prevent you from making a costly mistake with your bone health. The recommended daily allowance for vitamin E is just 15 milligrams per day, which equals about 22 international units. That's all your body needs to get the antioxidant benefits without the harmful side effects. But here's where the supplement industry has created a dangerous problem. Walk into any pharmacy or health food store, and you'll find vitamin E supplements offering 400, 600, or even 1,000 IU per capsule. That's 20 to 40 times more than your body actually needs, and well beyond what research shows is safe for long-term use. Let me put this in perspective with a real story. Frank, a 76-year-old retired mechanic, was taking 800 IU of vitamin E daily because he'd heard it was good for his circulation. He figured if 100 IU was good, 800 must be 8 times better. What Frank didn't realize was that he was consuming over 35 times the recommended amount, and his bones were paying the price. High doses of vitamin E can thin your blood, which might sound like a good thing if you're worried about clots, but it actually impairs your body's ability to form new bone tissue. Your bones are constantly being remodeled, and this process requires proper blood clotting factors to work correctly. When vitamin E thins your blood too much, it disrupts this delicate balance. The research on this is particularly concerning for seniors. Studies have shown that people taking high-dose vitamin E supplements have up to a 20% increased risk of hip fractures compared to those who don't take these supplements. Given that hip fractures can be life-altering events for older adults, this is a risk that simply isn't worth taking. There's also an important difference between natural and synthetic vitamin E that most people don't understand. Natural vitamin E comes in a form called mixed tocopherols, which includes different types of vitamin E that work together harmoniously. Synthetic vitamin E, which is what's in most supplements, contains only alpha tocopherol, which can actually interfere with the absorption of other important forms of vitamin E. When you take high doses of synthetic alpha tocopherol, it can crowd out the natural forms of vitamin E that your body needs, creating an imbalance that affects not just your bones, but your entire antioxidant system. This is where the vitamin E story gets even more concerning, especially for postmenopausal women. High-dose vitamin E doesn't just affect your bones directly. It also disrupts the delicate hormonal balance that keeps your bones strong and healthy throughout your later years. Let me explain how this works, because understanding this mechanism could help you make better decisions about your bone health. Your bones are maintained by two types of cells: osteoblasts that build new bone and osteoclasts that break down old bone. In healthy bones, these two processes are perfectly balanced, like a well-choreographed dance. But excessive vitamin E consumption can reduce osteoblast activity, meaning your body becomes less efficient at building new bone tissue. It's like having a construction crew that suddenly becomes less productive, while the demolition crew continues working at full speed. Over time, this imbalance leads to a net loss of bone mass. The hormonal disruption is particularly devastating for women. Some studies suggest that high-dose vitamin E may lower estrogen levels in postmenopausal women, and estrogen is crucial for maintaining bone density. When estrogen levels drop, bones begin losing calcium at an accelerated rate, which is why osteoporosis becomes such a concern after menopause. Margaret's story illustrates this perfectly. She was a 68-year-old woman who had been taking 600 IU of vitamin E daily for 3 years, along with hormone replacement therapy for her menopausal symptoms. Despite the hormone therapy, her bone density scans showed concerning declines that her doctor couldn't explain. When Margaret finally connected with a practitioner who understood vitamin toxicity, they discovered that the high-dose vitamin E was interfering with her estrogen levels, essentially canceling out some of the bone protective effects of her hormone therapy. Once she reduced her vitamin E intake to a safer level, her bone density began to stabilize. The interaction between vitamin E and other bone-supporting nutrients is equally concerning. High-dose vitamin E can interfere with both vitamin D and vitamin K, two nutrients that are absolutely essential for proper bone health. Vitamin D helps your body absorb calcium from food, while vitamin K ensures that calcium gets deposited in your bones rather than your arteries. When you take excessive amounts of vitamin E, you're essentially sabotaging the entire system that keeps your bones strong. It's like trying to fill a bucket with holes in it. No matter how much calcium you consume, it won't stay where it belongs if the other nutrients can't do their jobs properly. Now that we've explored the dangers, let me give you hope by sharing what actually works to build and maintain strong bones throughout your senior years. The key is to shift your focus from megadoses of potentially harmful vitamins to a balanced approach that supports your bone health naturally and safely. Instead of high-dose vitamin A and E supplements, let's talk about the nutrients that your bones truly need. First and foremost is vitamin D3, the sunshine vitamin that helps your body absorb calcium from the foods you eat. Most seniors are deficient in vitamin D, especially those who spend limited time outdoors or live in northern climates. The beautiful thing about vitamin D3 is that it works synergistically with calcium, meaning they enhance each other's effectiveness. But here's the crucial part. You need adequate vitamin D3 for calcium to be properly absorbed from your intestines. Without enough D3, you could be consuming plenty of calcium but still developing weak bones because your body can't use it effectively. Vitamin K2 is perhaps the most overlooked nutrient in bone health, and it's absolutely critical for seniors. Think of K2 as the director of calcium traffic in your body. It activates proteins that guide calcium into your bones and teeth, while keeping it out of your arteries and soft tissues where it could cause problems. The research on K2 is remarkable. Studies have shown that people with higher K2 intake have significantly stronger bones and lower rates of fractures. Even more impressive, K2 can actually help reverse some of the calcium deposits that have built up in arteries, potentially improving both bone health and cardiovascular function simultaneously. Magnesium is another unsung hero of bone health. About 60% of your body's magnesium is stored in your bones, where it helps form the crystal structure that gives bones their strength. Magnesium also activates vitamin D, so without adequate magnesium, even optimal vitamin D levels won't be fully effective. Many seniors are deficient in magnesium due to poor absorption, certain medications, or dietary factors. Signs of magnesium deficiency include muscle cramps, especially at night, fatigue, and irregular heartbeat. The good news is that magnesium supplementation is generally very safe and can provide benefits beyond bone health. Boron is a trace mineral that most people have never heard of, but it plays a crucial role in bone metabolism. Boron helps your body use calcium, magnesium, and vitamin D more effectively. It also appears to support healthy hormone levels, which is particularly important for postmenopausal women. Right now, I want you to take a moment to think about your own supplement routine. Walk to your medicine cabinet and take a close look at the labels on your vitamins. Add up the amounts of vitamin A and E you're taking daily. Are you unknowingly consuming doses that could be harming your bones? If you're taking more than 3,000 IU of vitamin A daily, especially from supplements, you're potentially in the danger zone. If you're taking more than 100 IU of vitamin E daily, you might be setting yourself up for bone problems down the road. This isn't about perfection. It's about making small changes that can have a big impact on your future mobility and independence. I think about people like Margaret, Dorothy, and Frank, whose stories we've heard today. They were all trying to do the right thing for their health, but they were missing crucial information that could have prevented their bone problems. You now have that information, and that gives you the power to make different choices. Your bones are not just the framework that holds your body together. They're the foundation of your independence, your mobility, and your quality of life. Every step you take, every hug you give, every activity you enjoy depends on having strong, healthy bones. Protecting them should be a priority, not an afterthought. The good news is that it's never too late to start supporting your bone health properly. Your bones are living tissue that's constantly being renewed, and when you give them the right nutrients in the right amounts, they can remain strong and resilient well into your later years. Remember, the best approach to bone health is a balanced one that includes appropriate amounts of vitamin D3, K2, magnesium, and other bone-supporting nutrients, combined with regular weight-bearing exercise and a diet rich in calcium from food sources. Avoid the megadose trap that promises miracle results but delivers potential harm. If you found this information valuable, I encourage you to share it with friends and family members who might be making the same mistakes with their vitamin intake. Knowledge is only powerful when it's shared, and you might literally save someone from a devastating fracture by passing along what you've learned today. Your bones have carried you through decades of life, supporting every adventure, every challenge, and every joy you've experienced. They deserve your careful attention and protection. By choosing wisely about your vitamin intake, you're not just protecting your bones, you're protecting your future independence and quality of life. Thank you for taking this journey with me today. Stay strong, stay informed, and remember that the best health decisions are the ones based on knowledge, not assumptions. Your bones will thank you for it.